welcome back to A View from the Inside Conversations with GPISD SAB. So today we actually have a collaboration with both of our groups from SAB, and I'm Kennedy Wilkes. I'm a senior at North Shore Senior High School, and now I want to pass it over to Jaylee so she can introduce herself.
Thank you. My name is Jaylee Jackson, and I am a senior at GPISD CTE Early College.
My name is Michael Garza, and I am also a senior at the CTE Early College High School.
Oh, and we have our producer, Danielle, with us.
I wish I could clap for her.
So yes, we are so excited for today. Today is our last video.
If y'all can see our face, we're crying.
We're crying. We're crying. But we are so excited. Today we will be talking about social media, the bad, the good, and we have a special guest from our superintendent of schools, Dr. John Moore. So that's exciting.
We have 3 videos to share with you today. One from a student, another from a teacher, and the last one is from our Galena Park ISD Human Resources Department. And now I would like to introduce Layla Polito, a freshman at Early College High School.
Tell me about a time when you saw something posted on social media that was inappropriate or insensitive.
I saw one time where a person posted another person's personal information on their social media.
Did you know that person?
I did not.
How did you respond?
I responded with just clicking away, but then later on, I thought about it more and I realized it was wrong of them to do that.
Do you think people should suffer consequences for the things posted on social media?
I think it will depend on what they do specifically, but if it was more on the less harmful side, I think they should know what they did and do a little bit of punishment, but not to where it could affect their future.
What could we as young adults do to help educate our peers on the ramifications of the misuse of social media platforms?
I think we should educate each other of trying to be in the other person's shoes and try to feel how they would feel if they were in that position where they were reading their own personal information on another person's platform.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Layla. That was a really good video. So what I will say is I can personally say that for somebody who has social media, I have seen quite a bit on social media as well. And I can kind of agree with her or connect with her when she said, you know, I saw something and then I later realized that, hey, that wasn't good. And I think so often people, including myself, will see something and it's kind of like, oh, what's this, you know? And then it's kind of like, oh, you know, it's nothing. But you go back to it and you see so many feelings are hurt and so many lives are, you know, being broken. So I just think that I can agree with her, and I think that social media, it can be, you know, hard, and you know, a lot goes on with social media.
I think one of the reasons why people don't jump when they see something is because they're like, oh, I don't want to get in a mess.
Yeah.
And then the person that they might be attacking, everybody might come on you, so then you're like, okay, I gotta watch my back. And I think sometimes it's just that analogy. I don't want these people to jump on me, so I'm gonna do whatever I can to avoid it. And I think sometimes you don't know how to respond because you don't know the full story.
Yeah.
Some people might give you this story, and then it might be a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And so I think with social media, we only get half of a picture and we don't get the full context. So how can you attack something that you don't know? And I think when you say put somebody in their shoes is we attack before we know the full context. Right. We don't know, like, you don't know how that person is behind the scenes, how they act with their family, how they are with each other. But we can't judge based on something we know,
Right.
don't fully know. So.
Right. And I also think it's very important to know both sides of the story, because at the end of the day, someone's feelings is going to be hurt, and if you can do something to avoid that, then by all means go for it and reach out to them and say, hey, what's up? What happened? Are you all right? Catch up with them and make sure they're okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think putting yourself in somebody's shoes is you don't know what that person behind the screens is going through. Just because they might air out your business or whatever they chose to do on their social media post doesn't mean they're a bad person. They just might be dealing with so much more. And sometimes I think when you're in the moment, you're angry, but you have to kind of step back and see it for what it is. Maybe that person is just reacting because you react.
But I don't think reacting by posting someone's personal information is okay.
True.
I think it's okay. I think, you know, sometimes things happen and, you know, you feel some type of way and you might react, but I don't think it's okay for you to react by humiliating someone, though.
That is true.
Yeah. So
That is true.
that's that. So next we'll watch the next interview from Mr. Richard at Early College High School.
Do you think people should suffer consequences for the things posted on their social media, such as losing a job or losing a scholarship?
I do think that people should suffer consequences only because you're an ambassador for that scholarship. You're an ambassador for your job. You are a representation. And if you're doing things that doesn't represent wherever you are, then you're liable for a negative consequence.
Okay. What could we do as young adults to help educate our peers and our friends on the ramifications of the misuse on social media platforms?
Unfortunately, that means that we have to expose more. The way that you advise someone is by showing, look what happened to him. He didn't do what he was supposed to do, and now he's being tried for whatever reason, and it's on social media. Therefore, you just gotta be careful and don't let your emotions overtake you before you write something that can't be taken back.
So I really agree with what Mr. Richard said about you're an ambassador for that scholarship, for that job. I mean, for example, all three of us were ambassadors for Galena Park ISD, and I'm more than sure that all three of us are well aware of what we put on social media. So either at the end of the day, you can either abuse it or use it. So I'm sure we all use it in the good sense of life.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's so hard to distinct, you know, what's the ramifications for things that people post. But I think we have to kind of be fair in all senses of, like, if this person does something, we have to be kind of fair how we react, even if it's not a job or scholarship involved. Because I feel like what you post sometimes can have people's feelings involved. So I think we have to kind of pull each other aside and hold each other accountable, because it's very important, because then we let things slide that should never slide in the first place.
Yeah. And then you said you can either use it or abuse it. I think the part of using it, I don't think social media is just something that's bad. I don't think social media is something that's bad. I think that it's a place where you can meet new people. You can see parts of the world that, you know, you'll probably never see. You can see pictures, videos, connect with people, see your family that you haven't seen in forever. So although, you know, yes, social media has the ups and downs, I also think that there's some good to social media, and you just have to bring the good out of it. So
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree, because social media was a place where I promoted my workshop and people came through. I'm telling you, friends was reposting, and I was able to get more youth, because that's what people be trying to look for when they be having these webinars, is us. So I think that social media is just the realm that it really helps you to
how you connect
reach.
with people.
Yeah. And some people I've met that's been, you know, not here, I've, you know, gotten to know them because of social media. So
Same here, like for college, I've met people online, and I've been able to make new friends. Like since I'm going out of state, it is harder to meet people that are going where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
But because of social media, it's been easier to make friends.
Yeah, roommates,
Yeah.
learning about clubs before you get to school, all of that. I think social media, yes, once again, it can be negative, but it can also be great.
That's true. That is true. Okay, so we're going to move on to our last interview, which Michael will introduce.
So we have Mr. Jared Link from the Executive Director of Human Resources in Galena Park ISD.
So first question is, how can we educate our peers and friends on protecting themselves from the misuse of social media platforms?
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, especially in our today's culture, is you know, everyone's on social media. Social media is really, and especially with our younger generation, is the way they communicate with each other. But I think that the most important thing is to make sure that they understand how widespread social media is and their image. It's really about protecting your image is what it becomes. Because everything you do or say on social media goes out to potentially millions of people, depending upon the network and the webbing that's out there with that. So I think that the most important thing is that they understand that it's public speech. What they say can and will at times harm them and harm future possibilities that they may have, whether that be educationally or for their career, professionally down the road. So if I gave one piece of advice, that's what I would educate our younger generations on, is just be very mindful of their image and protecting that image and that reputation.
Okay. Do you think the misuse of social media can be harmful to our future careers or scholarship opportunities?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, is it absolutely can. And we've seen that here in Galena Park over the past few years. And social media is becoming, and I'll tell you this, as an HR person, social media is becoming the #1 reason that people lose their employment. And for the same token, fail to gain employment. It's a commonplace now that people are going to go and research your social media platforms. So what you say, what you do, what you represent can strongly influence somebody's decision on whether or not they're going to offer you employment or admittance into any program or educational facility.
Okay. What precautions do you think we should take to protect our online footprint?
I think the first thing to do is really go back, go through, you can start with going through your privacy settings on whatever social media platform you have to make sure you're aware of who can see that. And make sure that you're that you're in charge of that you're monitoring what's on your social media platforms. And you can do all that to a great extent through your privacy settings. And my advice would be to have it as private as you possibly can, to where other people can't put things on your platform that you don't see in advance and get to approve. But another good thing that you can do is go back through your social media platforms. Clean those things up. If there are things on there that you wouldn't, I always tell our employees this, and I guess this depends on your relationship with your mother, but if there are things on there you wouldn't want your mom to see or family members to see or something like that, then take it off. It's never a bad idea to periodically go through your social media and kind of quote unquote clean it out.
I completely agree with the point of that. If it's something your mama wouldn't see, then don't post it. Cause I don't think about that constantly, but that's something we should all strive for. Cause no offense or from away, the way I used to post, it was not good things. And I had to learn myself, clean it up, because I just definitely wouldn't want my mama to see that. She thinks very highly of me, and I think very highly of myself. And I have to live that out through my social media for sure.
Yeah. And I'm glad, you came to the realization. I think we all come to the realization of, you post something or you take a picture or, you take a video or something, and you look at it and you're like, is this right? And it can be the smallest things, like, is my shirt buttoned up, or is my skirt too short, and stuff like that. So I think, to be careful with what you post, not only with your parents, but, would my boss think this is okay, or would, the person who's giving me this scholarship think it's okay?
Yeah. And also, I want to say this too, is even though we're talking about the topic of social media and its future ramifications, don't be scared of it. Even though there's things that you have to watch out for, because you don't want to ruin some of the opportunities that you get. Don't be scared of it, because like we said from the last interview, it can be a very positive thing. It just depends on how you use it. And so we shouldn't take it like, okay, man, I can't do this, I can't do that. Be yourself, because people want your authentic self. It's just some things, you have to have a boundary line, especially if you hold yourself to the highest. Hold your social media to the highest and represent yourself to the best form of who you are and not who other people want you to be.
Right.
Because I think that's important. And that's what we want to see on social media, you being yourself. Because you might being yourself might inspire me watching your story. So I think that's important. Be who you are. Don't be this fake form of who you're not.
Right.
And back to what Mr. Richardson said, and bridging it back to Mr. Link. It's important because you're going to represent either the district, your family, most importantly yourself.
Yeah.
So it's always important to make sure that you have the best image of yourself on social media.
Right. And then it just links back to the privacy part. If you get your privacy. There's Instagram, get you a private account. On TikTok, you can have a private account. So if you want to protect yourselves in the best way possible, and you want to be yourself, but you don't want to have the world just on your shoulder, make your account private.
And I think that's good because there are some creepy people out there that don't want no good for you. And when you are, on private, there's certain things you can control that come in and out of your account, in and out of your message box, in and out of everything. So, I mean, I definitely would say go into privacy if you want to be to yourself, if you want it how you want it. I just think that that's the best way to go about it. So.
Yep. Yes. Well, next we will have our superintendent of schools, Dr. John Moore, with us for an interview.
Welcome back to our final podcast of the 2020-2021 school year. Today we have Superintendent of Schools, Dr. John Moore, here with us to talk about social media.
Wow, guys. First of all, thanks for the invite. As superintendent of schools, I don't get to personally interact with kids every day. So this is really a pleasure. It's a lot of fun for me to be able to spend some time with y'all. So thank you so much. I know we're talking about social media today, and I'm a little old school, and so my opinions may be a little old to you guys, but please know as we get a little farther into it, my first responsibility is to make sure you're safe. And social media scares me sometimes when I'm trying to protect you guys as students. So that's the angle I'll be taking, which may not be the angle you guys necessarily want to hear, but once again, thanks for the invite.
Of course. So you said that you want to protect us. So how can we educate our peers and friends on how to protect themselves from social media?
Okay, so like I said, I'm a little older than y'all, just a little bit,
Just a little bit.
And over time, I have seen things in our technology world change drastically.
Yeah.
And things that I would have thought would have never been possible even 15 years ago are now possible. So social media scares me from the standpoint I don't know how fast it's going to move and where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So when you ask my advice on how to protect each other, your peers, I don't really know where it's going, so I really don't know how to tell you to protect yourself other than, the obvious easy way is don't participate, but from an old guy, that's pretty easy. For you guys, that's probably not reality, right? So what I would tell you is be very, very careful. Don't believe what it says. All right? Don't put your trust in people on the other end. Make sure you trust the people who you live with, your family, those types of things. And when you interact, try to protect yourself by maybe making sure you're a friend or a parent or somebody knows who you're interacting with, why you're interacting, and by all means, if you ever decide to meet somebody that you met on social media, you go in a group. You don't do anything like that by yourself. So, and that's just a little piece of the pie. It's that's a huge question.
Yes,
so
it is.
that's just what comes to mind right now.
Okay. I want to thank you for that answer because that was really, really great.
Really
and I
good,
could always
yeah.
use that forever.
Forever.
So the second question I want to ask is, since social media is here to stay and it's only growing bigger as we get older for sure, what advice would you give us and our classmates to stay safely while using social media?
So, once again, in today's time, I have children that are just a little older than you guys. Not a lot. And what I tell them is the world can be a bad place. So when you look through the eyes of social media, you have to know that's out there. You have to know there's a line out there on the other end of that social media. That doesn't mean everybody's a line, but there's a line there somewhere. And so you have to protect yourself from getting eaten by that line by the way you choose to use social media. So what I would say is be conservative. Don't be first. You know, new platforms come out all the time. And when a new platform comes out, all the young kids are on the new platform just like that. Well, maybe let somebody else try that new platform first, okay? Just be aware that there are things in the world that aren't looking out for your best interest, right? And as your superintendent or as your school system, we have to teach you that, okay? And you know, nobody wants to be negative Nelly. Nobody wants to spend all the time teaching you about all the bad things in the world. So we're going to teach you about all the good things too, but at the same time, you just have to know that's there. And do the best you can not to get yourself isolated, okay? Make sure you stay with your peers and the group of people you know that care the most about you.
Right.
You know, and let them participate with you.
So as youth and the main users of social media, how can the misuse of social media like affect our future?
Well, I mean, you know, all job interviews now check
Social media.
different social media sites to see, you know, what kind of person they're getting. So, you know, that's number one. Number two, remember that society changes. So, you know, you guys, you know, y'all are all extremely bright kids, and you know, CEOs, presidents of companies, you know, y'all could all be in those types of roles down the road. And you have to know getting that kind of job is super competitive, super competitive. There's other bright people out there in the world wanting those jobs too, right? So they'll use anything they can. When I say they, a board of directors, you know, maybe a governmental official, they'll use whatever they can to eliminate people from those jobs.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have an easy elimination tool by your name. You don't want to have something on social media that say, oh well, he or she, they're out because look at this picture, or look at what they wrote about something that they believe that, you know, is not favorable in society and that kind of thing. So, you know, as times change, you have to realize social media leaves an electronic footprint, and that footprint stays with you forever. It doesn't go away. So don't put things on there that you won't be proud to say 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah.
So a good point that you made that I can really relate to is when I was in middle school and me and Jaylee were on the same dance team, it was Sapphires. We kind of had this rule that you couldn't post certain things, and it even went on to high school. And sometimes it depended on what you post, you might get a demerit or you might get kicked off the team. And I know a lot of girls genuinely love being on the team, but because of what they post, they got kicked off. And so it just turned out to be a negative experience for sure for a lot of people.
Yeah, for the college team, I'm actually on my college's dance team. And when we first had our first meeting, she was like, social media, let me look at y'all's social media accounts, or if you have anything that's bad, delete it, because you're a representation of the team. So it's just like that at jobs. You're a representation of this company, you're a representation of Galena Park, so, you know, stuff like that. So I think it's really important on, you know, what you post.
Well, you know, school is where you learn, right? That's our job here, is to teach you to be productive citizens and lifelong learners. I don't know if y'all have ever been in our boardroom, that's written on the wall, and you know, that's our job. And so, you know, social media is a fact of life. So, you know, trying to teach you how to navigate it is part of our responsibility. Now, it's also your parents and your pastor and, you know, the communities too, but that's part of our responsibility. So, you know, me saying don't participate is a safe way is the easy answer. The reality is that doesn't teach you how to navigate it. So, so we have to teach you, and part of that teaching process is what y'all just talked about. You know, put something out there that's negative, there's a negative consequence that goes with that. And so that's very similar to life. You know, there's negative consequences that go with negative behaviors. And so, you know, as a person who wants the best for you guys, I just want to remind you that while things can be really fun You can use social media to great advantages. You can get jobs on it. You know, you can, if you know, some people make a living on social media, right?
Yeah.
So it can be a lot of positives, but you got to be super, super careful, because it, just like you explained, it can turn into a negative, just like that, and it can be detrimental to your ability to make all those dreams come true that that you have. So remember, as your school superintendent, my job is to make all those dreams come true. So when I tell you to be careful, be careful, be careful, and I harp on all the negative things that can happen, it's only because we want all those dreams to come true. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming here with us today.
Sure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed visiting with you guys. You're extremely bright. I want to call you children, but you're not. You're young adults, and you're on your way in life. And people like you make people like me feel good about what we do every day. And so thank you.
Thank you.
For being our best and our brightest here in Galena Park. Thank you for representing our community. And when you go out there in the world, tell everybody where you're from, and tell everybody how proud we are here on the east side of town to have our school district, and to have our high schools, and to have our seniors be out in the world. We know you're prepared, and you guys are going to do great. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.